The money is not the problem. You have heard that before and probably dismissed it because when the account is low and the bills are due and the month still has 12 days left in it, telling someone the money is not the problem feels almost cruel. But stay with me, because what I mean is this. Two families, same income, same city, same cost of living, same number of children. One of them reaches the end of every month with something left over, a small cushion, a quiet exhale, a sense that they are moving forward even if slowly. The other one reaches the end of every month wondering where it went, not because they spent on anything dramatic, not because of one big mistake, just gone again. The difference between those two families is not income. It is a system. And today I am going to show you exactly how Japanese wives have been running that system for generations. 8 money habits so specific, so quietly powerful, that most households outside Japan have never once been taught them. Stay with me until habit number 8, because number 8 is not a budgeting trick. It is a mindset shift. And once you understand it, every other habit on this list will finally make sense in a way it couldn't before. But first, I need you to pay close attention to habit number 4, because habit number 4 directly contradicts what every financial advisor, every budgeting app, and every save more, spend less article has been telling you. And it might be the exact reason your budget keeps failing even when you are genuinely trying. Let's begin. Before we get into the 8 habits, I want to give you the foundation that makes all of them work. Because if you just hear 8 tips and walk away, you will try 1 or 2, feel good for a week, and then slide back into exactly what you were doing before. That is not a discipline problem. That is a system problem. And the Japanese approach to home budgeting is not a collection of tips. It is a complete philosophy. It is rooted in something called seikatsuhai, household living expenses, but the word carries a weight that the English translation does not. In Japanese culture, managing the home budget is not considered a financial task. It is considered an act of care, of stewardship, of love expressed through discipline. The woman who manages the household finances in Japan, traditionally called the shufu, is not just paying bills. She is protecting the family's future. She is making invisible decisions every single day that compound over years into security, freedom, and peace. And the tools she uses are not complicated. They are almost insultingly simple. But simplicity applied consistently produces results that sophistication applied occasionally never can. 8 habits, each one specific, each one small enough to begin today, each one available inside the life and the income you already have. Let's go through all 8. Habit number 1, the Kakeibo. Pronounced Kakeibo, it means household financial ledger, and it is the single most important budgeting tool most people outside Japan have never heard of. Here is what it is: a physical notebook, handwritten, used every single day. Not an app, not a spreadsheet, not a digital tracker that syncs automatically and sends you a notification you swipe away without reading. A notebook, a pen, your own handwriting. And here is why that distinction matters more than you think. Researchers at Princeton University and UCLA conducted a now-famous study comparing people who took notes by hand versus people who typed the same information. The people who wrote by hand retained the information more deeply, processed it more meaningfully, and made better decisions based on it. Because when you type, you transcribe. When you write, you think. The Kakeibo works on exactly this principle. Every month before the month begins, you open your notebook and you write 4 questions. How much money do I have available this month? How much do I want to save? How much am I spending? How can I improve from last month? Every day you record every single yen, every single cent that leaves your hands. Not at the end of the week, not whenever you remember, every day. And at the end of the month, You sit with those 4 questions again and you answer them honestly. Dr. Fumiko Chiba, the journalist who brought Kakeibo to Western audiences through her best-selling book, describes the practice this way. Writing your spending by hand forces a moment of consciousness between the impulse to spend and the act of spending. It makes the invisible visible, and you cannot change what you cannot see. Most people have a vague sense of where their money goes. The Kakeibo gives you a precise one. And precision is where financial change actually begins. That is habit number 1. Habit number 2, 4 envelopes. This one is almost embarrassingly simple, and it is one of the most effective budgeting tools in the world. Here is how it works. At the beginning of every month, after you have written your Kakeibo and you know how much you have available, you divide your spending money into 4 physical envelopes. Envelope 1, survival needs, groceries, utilities, transport, medicine. Envelope 2, optional wants, dining out, entertainment, small pleasures. Envelope 3, culture and growth, books, children's activities, learning, experiences. Envelope 4, extra and unexpected, the thing you forgot about, the cost you did not see coming. Each envelope gets a specific amount of physical cash. When the envelope is empty, that category is done for the month. Not negotiated with, not borrowed from another envelope, done. Now here is the science that makes this non-negotiable. Research from the Journal of Consumer Research and later confirmed by studies at MIT found that people spend significantly more money when using cards versus cash. In some categories, up to 83% more. Not because they are careless, because the psychological pain of spending, what researchers call the pain of paying, is dramatically reduced when no physical object leaves your hand. The tap of a card does not feel like losing something. The hand-counted notes from an envelope absolutely do. The envelope system restores the pain of paying. And that pain is not a problem to be solved. It is a feature. It is your body's natural financial protection system doing exactly what it was designed to do. Japanese wives have known this for generations. The science caught up recently. 4 envelopes, physical cash, once a month. That is habit number 2, habit number 3, and this one surprises people. It is not about money directly. It is about food, and it saves more money than almost any other single habit on this list. In Japan, the traditional meal structure is called ikiju sansai. It means 1 soup, 3 sides. 1 bowl of miso soup or broth, 3 small accompanying dishes, vegetables, protein. Pickled something, served with rice. Simple, balanced, economical. Not because Japanese families cannot afford more. Because this structure eliminates the 2 most expensive things that happen in Western kitchens every single week. Number 1, overbuying. When you shop without a structure, you buy ingredients for meals you imagine making. You do not make them. They expire. You throw them away. Research from the Natural Resources Defense Council found that the average household throws away approximately 25% of the food it purchases. That is 1/4 of your grocery budget going directly into the bin. Number 2, decision fatigue leading to takeout. When there is no system for what dinner looks like, the moment you are tired and the fridge looks complicated, you order food. And that one decision costs more than 2 or 3 meals made at home. Ikiju Sansai eliminates both problems. You know the structure. You shop for the structure. You use what you buy. And on the nights when energy is low, the structure is simple enough that making it requires almost no decision at all. You do not need to cook Japanese food. You need to adopt the principle: 1 main protein, 1 vegetable side, 1 simple soup or broth, 1 grain or base. Structure your meals before you shop. Shop only for what the structure requires. The average family that implements this principle reduces their grocery and food spending by 20 to 35% within the first month. not by eating less, by wasting less and deciding less. That is habit number 3 now. Habit number 4. The one I told you to watch for. The one that contradicts almost everything modern financial culture has taught you. You have heard of Kakeibo, the Japanese principle of eating until you are 80% full. Stop before you are satisfied. Leave the table with a little room remaining. It is one of the most studied longevity principles in the world, consistently linked to the extraordinary lifespan of people in Okinawa, Japan. But Japanese wives apply this principle not just to the dinner table. They apply it to the budget. Here is what that means. When money comes in, salary, bonus, any income at all, the first action is not to allocate spending. It is to remove 20% before the rest is touched. Not save what is left over, remove it first, allocate what remains. Live on 80% of what you earn, always, without exception, before the spending plan is even made. Now here is what every financial advisor, every budgeting app, and every Save More article misses completely. They tell you to budget first and save what remains. Japanese wives do the exact opposite. They save first and budget what remains. This is not a small distinction. It is the entire reason most budgets fail. When saving is what happens after everything else, it competes with everything else, and it almost always loses. When saving happens first, the budget automatically adjusts to what is available, not theoretically, practically, because the money is already gone. Behavioral economists call this pay yourself first. It is one of the most well-documented wealth-building behaviors across every income level. Research from Vanguard Group, tracking over 1 million retirement accounts, found that people who automated savings before budgeting saved 74% more over 10 years than people with identical incomes who budgeted first and saved the remainder. 74% more, same income, different sequence. The Japanese wives were not waiting for behavioral economics to confirm what their grandmothers already knew. Habit number 4. Take 20% off the top before a single spending decision is made. Live on 80%, always. That is the 80% rule applied to money, and it will do more for your financial life than any other single change on this list. Habit number 5. In Japanese manufacturing philosophy, specifically in the Toyota production system, there is a concept called muta. It means waste, but not just obvious waste, hidden waste, the kind that accumulates silently inside a system that looks like it is functioning fine. Japanese wives apply muta elimination to the household budget once a month. It works like this. Once a month, the same day every month, you sit down and you look for the muta, the waste that is leaving your account quietly, automatically, without delivering real value in return. Here is what muta typically looks like in a household budget. Subscriptions you forgot you were paying. Memberships you stopped using but never canceled. Insurance policies that have not been reviewed in 3 years. Brands you buy out of habit when a different option costs less and performs identically. Convenience spending that is actually just disorganization spending. The coffee bought because there was no time to make one. The takeout ordered because no one planned dinner. The parking ticket paid because the phone calendar was never checked. Muta is not the big purchases you see coming. Muta is the slow leak, the drip you cannot hear until you look for it. A 2023 study by Chase Bank found that the average household pays for 3.4 subscriptions they do not actively use. At an average of $14 per subscription, that is roughly $570 per year, leaving the account without a single moment of enjoyment in return. The muta audit takes 20 minutes once a month. Pull up the bank statement. Highlight everything that is recurring. Ask of each one, did I use this month? Did it genuinely improve my life? Is there a better option available right now? Cancel what does not pass. Renegotiate what can be reduced. Replace what can be done cheaper without meaningful loss. 20 minutes once a month. That is habit number 5. Habit number 6. This one is elegant in its simplicity. And it has saved more money for the people who use it than almost any other habit on this list. In Japanese household management, there is an unspoken but widely practiced rule. Anything that is not a survival need, food, medicine, an urgent household repair, waits overnight before it is purchased. One night you see something you want, you feel the pull, you note it down, you sleep on it. And in the morning you ask one question: do I still want this as much as I did yesterday? Here is what the neuroscience reveals. The urge to purchase is heavily driven by a dopamine spike in the brain's reward system. You see something desirable. Dopamine rises in anticipation of acquiring it. That anticipatory spike feels urgent. It feels like need. It feels like if you do not act now, something will be lost. But dopamine spikes are short-lived by design. Research from Stanford University found that the neurological urgency of a purchasing impulse decreases by an average of 70% within 24 hours when no action is taken. 70% in one night. Which means that most impulse purchases, the ones that quietly drain accounts and fill homes with things that never quite deliver what they promised, would simply not happen if one night stood between the desire and the decision. The overnight rule is not about deprivation. It is about giving your rational brain the time to catch up with your emotional one. Japanese wives do not fight the desire. They simply delay the response to it. And most of the time, by morning, the desire has quietly dissolved on its own. Write it down, sleep on it, decide in the morning. That is habit number 6. Habit number 7, and this one will surprise you. Because it is about giving. In a list of money-saving habits, habit number 7 is about generosity. In Japanese culture, there is a tradition called ostai, the practice of giving without expectation of return, offering hospitality, sharing food, extending help to neighbors and community members, not as a transaction, but as an expression of character. Now, you might be wondering what generosity has to do with budgeting. Everything. Here is why. The households that practice intentional, structured generosity, a set amount given each month to family, community, or cause, consistently report something that surprises economists. They report feeling wealthier than households with the same or higher income who give nothing. Not because giving creates money, but because it creates relationship capital. The neighbor who knows you, the family member you support, the community you invest in. These relationships return value in forms that do not appear in a bank account, but absolutely reduce what the bank account must cover. The meal shared means the takeout not purchased. The neighbor who helps with childcare means the daycare bill reduced. The community that shows up means the crisis faced alone. Beyond the practical, behavioral economist Professor Elizabeth Dunn at the University of British Columbia found in a landmark study that spending money on others produces significantly greater happiness than spending the same amount on oneself. And happiness, genuine, daily contentment, is one of the most powerful reducers of impulse spending that exists. Because most impulse spending is not about want. It is about a gap, an emptiness that feels like it needs to be filled. Generosity fills it in a way that purchases never quite manage to. Build a small, fixed generosity budget, even $10 or $20 a month. Give it consistently, intentionally, and without expectation. That is ostai, that is habit number 7, and now, number 8. The one I told you from the very beginning was different. This is not a habit for your hands. It is not a trick for your budget. It is a filter for your mind. And without it, the other 7 habits are just 7 more things to add to a list you are already too tired to manage. With it, they become something else entirely. In Japan, there is a word, Mottainai. It cannot be perfectly translated, but it carries the weight of an entire way of living inside a single sound. It expresses a deep, quiet regret over waste, not dramatic regret, not guilt, just an unwillingness to let something valuable pass unappreciated, unnoticed, unused. Mottainai is the feeling when you throw away food that could have been one more meal. It is the feeling when you buy something new, when something you already own would have served the same purpose. It is the feeling when you spend money filling a gap that money was never going to fill. Mottainai says that is a waste, and not just of money, of the thing itself, of the resource, of the effort someone made to produce it, of the life energy you exchanged for the money that paid for it. Applied to the household budget, Mottainai is not a rule. It is a lens. It is the lens through which a Japanese wife looks at the refrigerator before she writes the shopping list and asks, what is already here that deserves to be used? It is the lens through which she looks at a worn item and asks, can this be repaired before it is replaced? It is the lens through which she looks at an impulse purchase and asks, would buying this honor the work it took to earn it? Once you see through this lens, you cannot unsee it. Mottainai is why the Kakeibo works, because writing it by hand honors the money enough to track it. Mottainai is why the envelope system works, because physical cash makes the value of money visible. Mottainai is why Ikiju Sansai works, because a meal structure honors the food that goes into it. Mottainai is why the 80% rule works, because saving first says your future deserves as much as your present. Mottainai is why the Muta audit works, because waste offends the quiet dignity of everything you work to earn. Mottainai is why the overnight rule works, because a purchase made impulsively does not honor either the money or the thing being bought. And Mottainai is why Ostai works, because generosity is the opposite of waste. It is value given its fullest possible expression. All 7 habits before this one are expressions of the same underlying decision. That your money is worth managing well. That your income, however much or little it is, deserves to be directed with intention. That your family's financial future is worth the small, quiet, daily decisions that most people never make because no one ever told them those decisions mattered. They matter. They compound. They change everything. Not dramatically, quietly, the way a slow river reshapes a landscape, imperceptibly from one day to the next, and yet completely transformed when you stand back and look at what 10 years of gentle, consistent movement has produced. That is Mottainai. That is habit number 8, so here is everything in one breath. The Kakeibo, a physical notebook, written by hand every single day, because you cannot change what you cannot see. The 4-envelope system, cash divided by category once a month, because the pain of paying is protection, not inconvenience. Ikiju Sansai, a meal structure before you shop, because the most expensive thing in most kitchens is the food that gets thrown away. The 80% rule, save first, budget what remains, because saving what is left over means saving almost nothing. The Muta audit, 20 minutes once a month to find the quiet leaks, because slow drains empty accounts just as surely as large withdrawals. The overnight rule, desire has a 24-hour expiry date. Give it one night before you give it your money. Ostai, intentional generosity, every single month, because contentment is the most powerful defense against impulse spending that exists. And underneath all of it, Mottainai, the quiet decision that your money, your time, and your family's future are worth doing well. None of this requires a higher income. None of this requires a different life. Every single one of these 8 habits can begin today, inside the budget you already have, with the income you already earn. The Japanese wives who practice these habits are not wealthy because they earn more. They are stable because they waste less. They are peaceful because they decide intentionally. They are free not from financial pressure, but inside it because they have a system. And a system, consistently applied, produces outcomes that willpower alone never can. Now I want to hear from you. Right now, before you close this video, look at this list of 8 habits. Which one is the one your household is most missing? Is it the Kakeibo, the written daily record you have never once kept because no one ever told you that writing it by hand was the entire point? Is it the 4-envelope system, the cash-based category budget that sounds old-fashioned until you realize it works precisely because it is tangible and real in a way that digital money simply is not? Is it the 80% rule, the habit that saves first and budgets what remains, which means you have been doing it backwards this entire time, and that is why there is never anything left? Or is it Mottainai, the quiet underlying shift in how you see your money, your home, your daily decisions, that you did not even know was missing until just now? Drop the number in the comments, 1 through 8. Just the number is enough. Because naming the one thing is the first step toward actually doing it. And I read every single comment on this channel, every one. If you are a working mother managing this alone, I see you. These habits were built for exactly you, not for people with extra time, for people with none. If you are someone who has tried budgets before and watched them collapse by week 2, that was not a failure of discipline. That was a failure of system. And today you have a different system. If someone in your life is exhausted by financial stress that feels permanent and inescapable, share this video with them. Because they might be 8 quiet habits away from a household that finally feels stable. Not rich, stable, intentional, theirs. And that changes everything. I will see you in the next one.